trade, commerce, revolution, civilization, currency, commerce, goddammit, I already said that, whatever. Of all the lessons history has to teach us, one of its biggest is that nothing keeps a culture alive like a nice, vigorous trading network. Maybe it's spices, maybe bottle caps, or animals, or just sharing a really funny video you saw with a friend. This is what keeps a civilization alive and healthy, and it's also why Farloom remains the case study that it is, because this kingdom had 19 merchants all wanting to do business, and that still wasn't enough. Probably because some of them had no idea what they were doing. And like half of them die in the third act. Yeah, I'm going nowhere with this. Let's just start the video. Number 19, Skynx. Skynx is a Steel Soul exclusive NPC meant to replace Styx in this mode, working as this game's djinn that showers you in rosaries in exchange for Silk Eaters. Sometimes they make it rain, sometimes it's a puddle, and sometimes it's a tropical storm. The motion awarded kinda just depends on what they're feeling. Skynx, you ordered this triple pepperoni pizza. I'm not standing around forever just because you don't know how to properly count change. A gaming cave you've locked yourself in smells dank as hell too. Skynx is a real mutant child, like in the worst way. You know they don't keep the lights on because that's less time they need to spend looking at all the month-old takeout they keep forgetting to throw away. Allergic to sunlight, barely literate, probably mains Abrams, you know, like actual gutter child. You might get 100 per Silk Eater, or you might also get 99, or 97, or 146, or 51, or 103, or 48! There's only 9 of these in Steel Soul, for shit's Christ. Can we at least shoot for a more stable economy on these things? I don't have to deliver these to you, you know? You could be a normal functioning member of society and go to the grocery store like everyone else does, but no, you keep that DoorDash subscription. Number 18, Creige. Cringe. I'm calling him Cringe. I have no peaceful ways to lay it on this man that his nectar is fulfilling a purpose that no one needed or asked for. Charging only 10 rosaries for a drink that restores 3 HP and 6 silk it's honestly, it's hard to look bad, I'm gonna be real. But when you're doing it right next to a free and completely vacant bench, you're kind of just undermining yourself at that point. Additionally, if you've relocated the caravan to Greymoor, then a free silk top-off is only 3 scenes away. The only other good he can sell you is a quest item that does admittedly contribute to something pretty awesome, which is pale oil, but it takes a generational amount of bug balls to charge me 480 rosaries and then send me down to your cellar, which is later implied you knew was dangerous and were just tricking me into pest extermination services. Don't call this a trade, you smug bitch. I was putting in a 9 to 5 just to clear out your basement, and now you want to use the nectar you charged me for as leverage? Garment and Loam both die just because it's convenient for the experience, and douche missiles like Grindle and this guy get to just live through the whole journey. This kingdom really is batshit insane. Number 17, Grindle. Of all the other worldly fiends and villains that spread their terror, none are more despicable than those that find profit in societal annihilation. Grindle is accessed from heading through the sands of Karak after acquiring Feydown, and then heading down into the blasted steppes. Thief's Mark is really the only thing worth its price here. 680 for a spool fragment is a fucking scheme. 700 for a crafting kit is as gouged as your grandma's pincushion. And as for the most comical recession indicator, any merchants that die at the start of Act 3 is scavenged by Grindle, who will then sell you the exact same shit you missed, mostly at a steep upcharge. I mean, at least he sells a Psalm cylinder, so I could just yoink that and turn it into the Wait. Oh, okay, 200. So it's more, you fucking bitch. I've already went through how the snitch pick works in previous videos. There's a wiki page for it, and plenty of different opinion sources telling you why an asking price of 740 is worth a prison sentence, but I know you won't click on any of them, so Unk's gonna lay it down for you anyways. The snitch pick is a claw line attachment that enables a third hit that does around 1/4 of a needle hit's worth of damage. So if your needle is handing out 21 damage during the end game when it's fully upgraded, this essentially gives claw line an additional 5 damage. This damage can't be affected by, as far as I'm aware, any tool or upgrade in the game, nor can it grant silk. The rosaries dropped by enemies when you hook into them aren't even like extra rosaries, like they're just subtracted from the amount that the enemy drops when defeated. Granted, the same isn't true for shell shards, but omitted info nonetheless. Shit, that's some next level immersion to make it seem as though Grindle himself wrote the item description. Okay, so I started that as a joke. I'm realizing that might have actually been the point. That might have been the point. Number 16, Loddie. Imagine if every time you went to get groceries, you had to pay 25 bucks to enter the Kroger and then beat the cashier in a game of shuffleboard just to be allowed to leave. Loddie here disguises his setup with the festivities of an old carnival to mask his tight-fisted demeanor that not even Mort can compete with. Because at least I can break the gear on his shit and bypass his little tariff, but with Loddie, that entry fee is as inevitable as death itself. The only worthwhile item is a tool pouch, and the heavy rosary necklace is only 220 rosaries, which is about enough to buy another random item from any early game vendor. Sometimes. Honestly, that might not even be enough, depending on what you want. I won't lie, the game is pretty fun, but it does get old, and the prizes have absolutely no staying power. The tool pouch honestly feels like a requirement due to how important it is that the first round doesn't even feel optional. I mean, yeah, I guess the tool pouch technically only costs 25 rosaries if you just clear out the first wave first try, making it the cheapest of any of them if you don't fuck anything up, but after you've won both, there's not really any point in continuing with his games. It sounds like an infinite rosary glitch, but I would rather just give the top hallway next to 𝕋𝕋𝕊 a good few cycles if I'm strapped for cash. It's also technically not infinite anyways, because like apparently Loddie has an actual inventory. Yeah, I didn't know this. There's only a set amount of rosaries you can pull from him. He starts with 380, and each time you play a game, it adds 25 to his little imaginary bank account wallet thing that I guess exists. And the entire final round just becomes this ongoing give and take of who can strip the other from their rosaries first. Just don't even do the final round. Get the pouch and necklace and then bounce like a box of dryer sheets. Number 15, Kratt. Kratt's a funny little guy. To a certain extent, I kind of feel bad for him. He battles his own invasive thoughts every day, and by God, the sad little fucker just doesn't know how to win. He offers one of the greatest utilities in the early game before you acquire Silksong from 𝕃𝕃, which is the ability to restore health and your own silk either for 10 rosaries or completely for free if you smack the shit out of him when you're in the spa. The health top-off is a tad pointless because wherever you find his carriage, you also find a bench within very convenient reach considering he's part of the caravan now, but the silk refill is, honestly, it's kind of huge. He's got a funny interaction, it's easy to access, it gives me even more of a reason to continuously visit the caravan if not to stock up on brewskis, which is, you know, the actual reason I'm usually going there. He'll let you fuck his shit up after peeping if you don't leave the scene, and he even comes with his own flea minigame in Act 3. All this, and I don't like him. This was a carriage Kratt previously traveled alone with prior to his joining the caravan, and that's even more hilarious because that leads me to the conclusion that this fuckboy here is a repeat offender. I wonder if he ever pulled this shit on Lace or Shakra at some point. Nah, come on, get in! It's roastily warm. Who the hell calls a spa roastily warm? And how did he, like, eat or, like, survive if this carriage was all he traveled with? What was he doing with this carriage? Number 14, Vaultkeeper Cardinius. If you don't mind the generational case of whooping cough you can hear from the next region over, the Vaultkeeper offers a pretty hefty sum of rosaries for each of the 6 psalm cylinders found in Farloom, totaling out to a haul of 1,320, and not counting the fact that obtaining one of them involves getting scammed. It's not competing with the grand total earnings obtained by hunting down relics and giving them to Scrounge, since that rewards you over double by comparison, but Cardinius also needs way less relics, and all the cylinders are contained within a convenient distance of each other. 3 of them, including the Sacred Cylinder, appear in the Whispering Vaults, the home region of the NPC, and 2 are found in Underworks and High Halls. Humorously, this only further embitchifies Grindle since he's holed up so far away on the left side of the world map that traveling to it is such a glaring inconvenience. Wow, I'm already getting to the point where I'm talking about other NPCs on the list, so I think that's just a sign that there's nothing here to talk about. Number 13, Mort. Whatever price this Faith Goblin has marked on all his shit, just go ahead and tack on an extra 30 because Mort is such a tight-walleted shrew that he's gone and paywalled his own front door. Andrew Wilson would shit his pants. I don't care if you can bypass it. Like, the fact that he even thought of doing this to take advantage of desperate faith-bound pilgrims and then turn around and start evangelizing when he's questioned on it. The weighted belt is a malformed cousin of its previous iteration, only taking away around half the knockback that occurs when striking enemies with the needle and when being hit by enemies, which means it can stop you from getting pinballed into a stray saw blade or other environmental hazards, but its uses in general combat are far less than its ancestor charm, Steady Body, which removed all of the recoil. It's also got a little stalwart shell mixed in with it because it increases your post-damage iframes by around 30%, which, I mean, is that even bad? Is it good or is it bad? I don't know. I don't give a shit. Nobody gives a shit. It's 160 rosaries, might as well pick it up if you've got the cash. The other 2 don't even feel like they they belong in a shop. Like, tool pouches and memory lockets are two of the most coveted items in all of Silksong just because of how important they are. So he could have asked for the deed to my bell home and I still probably would have, like, thought about it. The pouch is $220, the locket is $150, and you better buy him now because by Act 3, his stock is another that gets swallowed by the black singularity of Grindle's biblical level greed because Mort is fucking Mortis. Even the game hates him. And if whacking the gear mechanism inside the door to bypass his little tariff wasn't enough evidence for that, then how about letting a deadly wild animal loose into his little prayer circle? Little bitch. Fuck this NPC. I'm serious. This guy makes me mad. Number 12, Vogue. Honestly, I like her. As a vendor, she functions very similarly to Shakra, only instead of station and bench pins, she can mark the locations of fleas you haven't yet discovered. Bait the Barnacks into pulling you up to her location like you're discovering the Bellway station for the first time, and then when you talk to her, she'll return to the caravan where she can then sell you the pins. No tools, no craft metal or mask shards or anything useful in the long term, but the completion of this quest in Act 3 and the subsequent opening of 𝕃𝕃𝕄𝔼𝕊𝕋 is, I think, more valuable than any single tangible item. I thought I was gonna have a complaint with this NPC with the possibility of buying an area's flea pins only to discover I had already found the fleas in that area, and I think that's why they made it to where she sells map pins that span across multiple locations, because that just wasn't a problem. The Boneland section spans across Hunter's March, Deep Docks, Farfields, the Marrow, and even the Wormways. The Midlands include Greymoor, Belhard, and Shellwood. The Citadel section already comprises like 7 different subregions that all get covered. Blasted Steppes also include Sands of Karak above, the Slab is included in Mount Fay, and the Biolands rope in Sinner's Road in its selection. Pretty smart the way they went about this, I'll admit. Number 11, the Mottled Skarr. No surplus, no window shopping, and most important of all, no language barriers, because the vibe of someone trying to sell you shit is universal and unmistakable. Despite the differing languages, you can tell he's friendly immediately upon visiting. So friendly that he actually gets killed by other Skarr during Act 2 if you get Clawline, or ring the ℃𝕃𝕊𝕋 bell, or defeat the Cogwork dancers. Like, dick around in the Citadel for any significant amount of time and he's probably gonna get zonked. Damn shame, honestly. I can't translate 𝕃𝕃𝕃𝕃𝕃𝕃 into something legible, but I'm emptying as many wallets as you want me to for that quit out button, goddamn. The Curved Sickle is an equally cool and useful item that receives a massive upgrade into Act 3 that makes it probably one of the most effective DPS tools available in the game. Maybe he gets zonked because his clothing has like the same foliage as 𝕃 the Outcast, which kinda opens the window into some rivalry going on between multiple sub-factions of the Hunter's March or something. That's all I can think of though. It's fun to imagine things. Number 10, the 12th Architect. I guess since I'm forever an Architect main now, just because a lot of my old B-roll contained Architect footage, I feel like a lot of you are expecting me to douse this merchant in sugary triple chocolate glaze like a fresh coat of paint. And although 12th Architect does sell some bombshell items like Cogwork Wheel and Sawtooth Circlet, the uncontested champion of Blue Tools, disagreement is a federal offense, they also disclose ownership of the single worst red tool next to the needle file that they repaired while bearing a trace of their identity idiom. This silk shot sucks dick cock, and forking over any amount of rosaries for it instead of just climbing the mountain and fixing it yourself feels like more of a scam than some deals given to you by actual scammers in the game. The crafting kit they sell you is also really not cheap. Like, it's not out of reach or anything considering this is towards the beginning of Act 2 when you first find them, but 450 rosaries means I'm probably not buying anything else. Scuttle Brace is underrated for platforming, and it allows you to manipulate your hitbox a little bit, which can be used for some fun shenanigans, and it's even compatible with the anklets in that your scuttle speed is increased. It takes a lot of getting used to, and it still might end up getting replaced by the dice on most main builds anyways, but for 140 rosaries, it ain't bad. Shard bundles let you bundle shards, grass is green, and the Architect crest is, well, I think everyone knows my opinion on the Architect crest by now. Number 9, Relic Seeker Scrounge. Relic hunting really isn't the financially sustainable pastime it was in Hallownest. A decomposing skeleton of a kingdom was able to dig up 450 geo for a little backpack button you could find in every other scene, but a perfectly maintained near mint condition musical instrument from a previous age gets me not even half of that. Like, Jesus Christ, that conversion rate must be insane. Granted, clearing out the entirety of the kingdom is gonna net you almost 3k in total rosaries, so it's not like it isn't worth the time investment. I think what's more interesting about the relics is that each of them come with unique descriptions and blurbs that offer extra backstory to the game. That lore is doing some heavy lifting to justify why the most expensive relic in the game is only 600 rosaries and you can only find one of them. But it's not like other upgrades don't match the scaling, at least. You can get all the needle upgrades with just barely 1,000 rosaries compared to the 7k investment it would take in Hollow Knight. Okay, so is Scrounge like Is she like an earthworm because she like digs up shit, right? Wow, holy fuck. There are negative talking points for this NPC, I'm gonna be real. Number 8, Jubilana. This living supermarket is packing around some mean shit with mean prices. Craft metals tend to be cheap no matter who sells them to you, if not for the fact that you can just as easily find them if you bump into enough walls. But Jeffrey goddamn Bezos, what possessed this misguided woman into charging 720 rosaries for a spool extender? Or 650 for a simple key? Or 750 for a mask shard? Completing the Lost Merchant wish in Songclave does expand her shop a bit, making her inventory one of the most plentiful in Farloom, even if almost everything she sells to you is massively overpriced. I think the funniest implication about this NPC, if you complete her quest, is that she's just trying really hard to be a saleswoman but doesn't even know anything about her own stock. You can pick up the key that opens Whiteward in the corner of Songclave if you haven't completed the Wandering Merchant wish, but if you do, Jubilana sets up shop in Songclave by the time you return, and you now have to buy the key from her stock. She really just found this shit on the ground and thought, wow, shiny, someone will buy the fuck out of this. No doubt it'll open the way to somewhere special, somewhere full of good. Bitch, show me the Carfax. You don't know what this is. To be honest, I'm surprised there isn't some unique dialogue when you come back from the ward and you just get to be like, hey, douche missile, I found Josefka's clinic thanks to that key you sold me. So let's maybe not sell random shit to people if we don't know what it does. Okay? Number 7, the Forge Daughter. Sting Shard and 𝕃𝕀𝕊𝕋 being offered this early into the game means they also come with the cheapest price the market could ever let happen. I don't know what Farloom's economic model looked like, but if the market allows for 𝕃𝕀𝕊𝕋 to be sold for 110 rosaries and straights this dire, that shit must have been fully figured out. You're gonna be spending the rest of the game getting zonked by something fire related and then immediately putting on the 𝕃𝕀𝕊𝕋 fresh out of death just because you've been through the ringer enough times to know exactly what bullshit is waiting for you if you don't do it. Sting Shard? Also goated, and I'm gonna show you how and why. Toss out a shard right over an enemy, wait like a quarter second or so for the hitbox to become active, but not active enough where the trap actually springs, and then just whack it. If done correctly, the trap will explode, and ideally the enemy over top of it will eat the full explosion, dealing 84 damage before defense calculation. And if that sounds like there's too much timing involved, then you can also just toss out 2 shards at once or use Quick Sling, and the first shard activating will likely trigger the immediate detonation of the second. So one goes off like normal, and the one after it explodes as though you hit it with something. You got that? Alright, have fun with your brand new cheese grater. This is 140 rosaries, by the way. Honestly, I've stopped giving her grief over the silk shot workmanship. Like, you know what, bitch? She tried her goddamn best. Like, the weavers are all gone, and the only instruction manual they left behind is on a mountain peak guarded by the Silksong equivalent of an ancient snow dragon. Like, let's see you put together an IKEA nightstand without a manual and not have it look like a fucking art sculpture. Number 6, Lumble the Lucky. I'm still on the fence whether or not this guy is even a merchant, but I massively appreciate an NPC with such a missable yet unique interaction, and I think that appreciation makes him enough to make the cut. For me, at least. When Lumble loses enough times in a row, the Lucky title that comes with his name card gets dropped, and it just becomes Lumble. It gives Hornet a unique set of sprites that aren't used anywhere else in the game. Such a small window of time where you can even interact with this character. Like all these unique details, and he dies when you reach Cogwork Dancers, and you can just pick the dice off of his corpse once it happens. And you probably should make time for that in your itinerary, because wait until Act 3, and Grindle swipes them up and charges you half a mortgage for it. As for his inventory, you can technically say he doesn't carry a single bad item. All he carries is the dice. It's probably the best yellow tool in the game, and the most he'll ever charge you for them is a couple minutes of your time that you'll enjoy having spent anyway, so I don't see the problem. One of the goats. Number 5, Grishkin. Grishkin is gonna have a short entry with very little embellishment because the spotlight they receive is so small, yet so critical to the mission. Did you run out of flea brew? Well, I'm about to pop a fresh keg, so you sit your ass down on that bench, maybe have some fresh muckroach stew while you wait, and I'll be right with you. Grishkin is a goddamn bro. All you have to do is move the caravan out of the Marrow and into Greymoor, and it immediately becomes available, with refills only at 30 rosaries, and they become 0 if you move it all the way to 𝕃𝕃𝕃𝕃. They don't even charge you for the wasted bottle if you spike it at someone for the extra BM. Number 4, Shakra. Okay, let's start by addressing the counter. I had Shakra much lower down on this list, and that grew from the assumption that Shakra is only a good vendor with a good item selection during a first playthrough where you are more likely to get lost or sidetracked. She sells the compass, she sells the quill, and she sells area maps. And she also sells the map pins for certain structures like benches, bellways, ventricas, you know, landmarks that a greenhorn explorer wouldn't be familiar with. However, there is another item in her stock, markers. These are for when you want to mark tremendously important locations that the map itself normally wouldn't tell you. enemy gauntlets, NPC locations, locked doors, vendors with items you really want but can't afford but you want to be reminded to go back to them later, wishes like Rite of the Polyp that involve multiple objectives and you want to keep track of which ones you've already swept up, and the first 3 stacks are some of her cheapest items. If you don't think these markers are worth it, you're just not thinking outside of the box enough. You will never go anywhere without a game plan again, and I don't think I can say that about anyone else on this list. Number 3, Pebb. Bone Bottom Zone, born and raised, she's the first merchant you ever meet, and that sets the standard for the rest of Farloom's entire barter system. From this point forward, if a simple key is any more than 500 rosaries, I'ma be pissed about it. Actually, this might be a bad example because the simple key ends up being a pretty massive deal this early because you can either use it for a super early access to Shellwood through the Wormways or using it in Deep Docks and unlocking a Farfield shortcut. Simple keys offer way more value than what's on the surface, and I feel like this is usually the reason they're found at such outrageous prices. Spool fragments, mask shards, same deal. It's so early into the game that buying a tool of any utility is automatically a great investment, and a mask shard marked this low is honestly a steal, but that doesn't really click with you until Jubilana, the world's worst saleswoman, charges you the monthly payment of a BMW for the exact same thing. This is the cheapest you will ever see anything for the rest of the game, yet there's not a single fate she's given that can be confidently called a good ending. Buying out her inventory starts the downward snowball of events into her haunting the ass end of the marrow, where you either get the mercy killing over with, or spend the rest of the game a coward, or she ambiguously disappears with the commencing of Act 3, like no death confirmation whatsoever, and Grindle just somehow ends up with all of her shit. Like, I'm not kidding, the game just dead ass forgets about her, and she don't deserve that. Number 2, Frey. Frey's placement here is arguably a notch too high for someone with no stock to build a first impression with, so if you're raising your eyebrows right now with this one, then goddamn, those are some well-groomed eyebrows you got there, son. Let's put them down for a minute. I'm putting Frey this high up because she deals in commodities accessible to no other merchant or NPC. Home decor! And that's on top of her normal stock, which is admittedly already kinda stacked. The sticker price on Multibinder will never be too expensive, it's so good. Spool Fragment and Memory Locket are both huge items at decently fair prices, but there's also the Personal Spa, which feels like an intimidating investment at first, but the installation in your Bell home gives you both Silk Refill utility and bombshell interior design. You get the desk, which opens up the purchasing of other items, the gramophone, which lets you listen to psalm cylinders, paint jobs for the home exterior, and the white paint option even changes to chrome if you're in Steel Soul. Go to a wishboard or an arms dealer if you want a merchant with something traditional. Frey here has the sauce that'll get your ass featured in Farloom's House and Garden Monthly. Number 1, Pinmaster Plinney. Bellheart's most skilled Pinmaster offers only the single most important service that could possibly be on the table, which involves taking that old moth-eaten corroded fire poker you start with and juicing that bitch up to Godslayer tier. The first upgrade is literally just free 99. He gives it to you as a means of thanking you for saving the city. And he doesn't even begin to charge you for anything until you're already 2 upgrades deep and the pneumatic jackhammer you've turned your nail into still isn't doing enough. He comes with a uniquely animated cutscene similar to the Nailsmith in the first game. Sharpening the needle past level 3 reveals additional Hornet lore thanks to the hive steel plating in the blade that Plinney himself even comments on. His wife is dead, yet this man suffers beautifully. He relocates to Shellwood in Act 3, and the note on his front door is just enough to motivate you to go look for him. A small detail that a lot of other NPCs who mysteriously disappear without explanation in the 3rd act definitely could have used. The pale oil just outside the Whispering Vaults is easily the most accessible of the 3 in the game, which I believe is done on purpose, because the other 2 oils need so much elbow grease to get going that by the time he actually begins attaching price tags to his efforts, you'll have already flipped over the kingdom and accumulated enough income to fund a 3rd game. Hornet doesn't even use a pin technically, and those magic fingers still got me carving through Grand Reeds like a double bevel miter saw.